Okay, first things first. I suppose this is a little bit of clickbait because I don't truly hate Americans, but I don't like them very much, to be honest. And that's not to say all Americans. There's still a great many of them that I do like. Some of my favorite content creators are American. And I love Marvel Comics, which had an enormous contribution from Americans, obviously. Um, but I think, my story starts as with just tourists here in Europe first. American tourists are obviously very obnoxious, loud, brash, and you know, just never left a really good impression on me in person. When I was young, it wasn't so much the case, I would say. Growing up, like I love Looney Tunes, Marvel, etc. So I was quite okay with American stuff. I always thought that Great Britain and people from the UK were friends with Americans, and we were quite close. But it appears to me that Americans don't see it this way. They definitely see it from a sort of case of superiority, I believe. And I think that's very ill-placed. Well, America is good at some things, but I would say on the whole, the populace are unremarkable people. And some of you will get mad with that, but just look around America, man. It's just filled with mediocre people. And then we enter the online stage where I have to interact with people on social media. And this is where it really takes a downward curve. Maybe not instantly, it took a good 20 years of being on the internet, but I've just grown absolutely sick and tired of their arrogance. You can't reason with Americans. I find other people from other countries, they're like, Romanian, Greek, Australian, you can have somewhat of a conversation online with them. It's not like combative, but with Americans, it's always, always, always combative, all the time. They lose the argument, they have to try and change the parameters, they have to do ad hominem, things like that. And another big aspect I've grown to dislike is how they steal our culture and our history and don't even acknowledge it. Like, the apple pie is English. It came from England. The television was invented in Scotland. And we can go on all day with this. Like, the light bulb was invented by Joseph Swan, was also British. So that is really annoying, and they refuse to admit some of this stuff, to try and make excuses, just like they do with basketball. Basketball comes from Canada, Americans, right? But you try and make excuses like, oh, well, he only changed the rules slightly from blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I can't remember his name, but he's a Canadian man. Deal with it, Americans. And then there's like the old politics thing, a bit like when I've been trying to discuss politics online, they will presume I'm American because I'm speaking English and have an English name, Anglo name. They would say things like, I bet you vote for Trump, I bet you watch Fox News. Like, I can't vote for Trump. We don't even have Fox News in the UK. I mean, I can watch it on YouTube if I so desire, but I don't really. If you ever talk to them, they presume that you're from their country, and they also cannot see things from another country's point of view. So if an example of this would be recently, I saw somebody on the left wing saying that you can't identify what an Italian person looks like or an English person. And you definitely can. Europe is not the USA. Europe is not the great melting pot, great mixing pot. Europe has quite strict ethnicities within its borders. We had many, many wars in Europe that settled a lot of this and made it so. So it's no surprise that Italian people have a certain look, English people have a certain look. But Americans like to say this thing like, oh, you can't tell what an English person looks like. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Anglos have a certain appearance, just like Indians have a certain appearance, just like the Chinese have a certain appearance. So if I can't quite get my words out. So, I mean, to say I hate them is a bit of a stretch, but I am continually annoyed by their arrogance and refusal to learn the truth and just all-round brash attitude. Like, America's always best, America number one, yada, yada, yada. And I kind of feel like that's the exact kind of ideology which will lead America into ruin. It will be those kinds of people that do not look at the signs, do not assess the situation that is coming for America and make the necessary changes to avoid America from being supplanted as number one. And this is, in large part, from the arrogance that I mentioned. For instance, China is overtaking the USA at a rapid pace. They have better trains, they have better infrastructure in the major cities, making USA cities look like they're from the Industrial Revolution. But again, Americans are so arrogant they won't look at China, at least in the technology aspect, to be able to determine that China are making leaps and bounds ahead of the USA. We can't have this conversation with them. And then there's the insistence with the English language being different for some bizarre reason. And then they try and say that we were the ones that changed it, which is not correct. We were not the ones that changed it. It's called English Simplified because you changed it, Americans. You changed the language. What you Americans believe is that the upper class changed the way they talk. So oh yes, darling, I would love a tea cake. That kind of thing. You know, like, yeah, that is egged on, that is put on so the upper class could feel different. But the rest of us in the UK, we're not changing our accents and changing our spellings just to not be like America. Like, how arrogant can you be to assume that people in Yorkshire, Devon, Somerset are going to change their language and everything else because of America? It's like preposterous. But then they refuse to refer to football as football. You know, I always want to use the word soccer. Like, it's not soccer. Nobody calls it soccer. Yes, the English invented the word soccer, and then we abandoned it because it was stupid. Just like the imperial system that you still intend on using all the time. But I did see something interestingly, that some Americans have started to pick up some of the other pronunciations. I heard a YouTuber say the word niche and not niche. I was quite surprised. I was like, what? This American's actually learned that he's saying it wrong. And it is wrong. Niche is wrong, Americans. You know, there is a correct way of speaking English, like we do in England, and then there's the wrong way, like you do in America. And that's the end of the story. We're English, it's our language. If you don't like it, change what yours is called. Sure, I'm going to be missing out some things. This might seem like a small petty reason, and, you know, saying hate is a strong word. I wouldn't say I hate Americans, but I do dislike them a great deal. And when I go to the Philippines, I will be trying not to hang around with Americans if I can help it, unless they're maybe a channel I already like, and then they want to hang around with me potentially. But yeah, as things stand, I will be moving the opposite direction, away from Americans, the second I get a chance. But I'll leave that here for now anyway, guys. You know, subscribe if you want more opening up talks and more, you know, what I suppose you could call rants. And I'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo.